In this segment, we're going to talk about the PAL's loss of ability to speak and some devices, various devices that will help with the communications issue. When the PALS loses their ability to speak, this is an enormously serious benchmark. Very, very emotional. No matter what device is used to help with communications, you can't communicate as a PALS that can't speak. You can't communicate your feelings with any kind of electronic device. You can provide directives, I need a glass of water, but you can't really express your feelings any longer. And that's an enormously difficult benchmark that the PALS has to deal with. It also affects you as a couple, ability to socially participate any longer. PALS that can't communicate can't sit at a dinner situation and talk to anybody any longer. Can't have people over and talk to people any longer. So it creates very difficult social problems as well as emotional problems for the PALS to communicate their feeling. One PALS described the loss of their voice or the loss of the ability to speak as disappearing, and I thought it was a good word. She said that as she's losing her voice, she feels like she's disappearing, and that's a sad but very true description of what's happened. There are lots and lots of text-to-speech devices. There's lots and lots of options, and I suggest that you get on the web, ask other people what works, and certainly if you're watching this video and you have comments about devices that you've used or approaches that you've taken that you found work, we encourage you to add them as comments to this video to help some other people. My wife was able to write, so she just used a very simple whiteboard. She wasn't good with electronic stuff, so she used a simple whiteboard. But the only reason for bringing it up here is if the PALS can write, getting a whiteboard, you want to make sure that you get one with a click pen for them to write on, not one with a cap that you pull off and put on. The PALS probably won't have that dexterity, that finger ability to be able to pull the cap off and put the cap back on again. But with this type of pen, all my wife did is grab it with her hand, push it against the board, turned it around, and then wrote what she wanted, and then closed it up again. So think about that as an option. iPads are getting very popular as an electronic device. One of the wonderful things that we came up with was texting. Using just a normal cell phone text to be able to communicate with each other if I was out of the house. If I went to the grocery store, I could text her and just give her a very short message that she could answer with yes or okay. I would text, "Are you okay?" and she would text back yes. Or I would say, "I'm going to be home in a half an hour, is that okay?" and she would say yes. So just using a phone as a text device a cell phone was very, very helpful. You have to look at potentially getting an emergency call button system so that when you're out, the PALS has an emergency call button which they can wear around their neck, press the button, and it will automatically signal an emergency service and ask them to help. At night, we found that wearing the call button around her neck was very difficult. It interrupted her sleep. So what I did is I changed the call button from a strap around her neck. I put it as a wrist so that it was just around her wrist. She found that much more helpful from a sleep standpoint. When you reach the point where you can't sleep in the same room with the PALS because of problems that the PALS is having and you're sleeping in another room, then think about a baby monitor, so that you can still monitor the situation from another bedroom, and you quickly find out and you know from the sounds that you're hearing on the baby monitor whether the situation is serious or whether it's just normal symptoms that the PALS experience. There's a thing called voice banking that you should look into for the PALS to be able to create a bank with their own voice and then have that turned into a text-to-speech type process so that the responses are coming in the PAL's own voice. Again, there are so many devices and approaches to dealing with this problem. Standard one that everybody hears about is the Dynavox, which is a very expensive computer system, which may be helpful. And again, something that you can look into as an approach that may help with your particular PALS. But again, if people know of other things or if they've had experiences with particular devices and they find that they're helpful, we encourage them to put that information on this website so it'll help other people.